It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen. I am Bryan Nolen here for the final time. More on that in just a little bit. But on this week's edition of the program, we got Alex against one of his favorite humans on the earth, that being Matt Mills, the driver for Nice Motorsports in the Truck Series, going to be joining the program. Our Dalton Hopkins talked with him this past week in the Pocono, so we'll get his thoughts and more. And then Trey, Lyle, and I will be diving on into all the latest, gearing up for the in-season tournament and the Truck Series making a brand new venue as they head to the Northeast. Let's dive on into all that, but first, let's go into the Inferno with Matt Mills.
Now it's time for...
Enfinger gives a look, but he can't get there. It's Matt Mills who wins the opening stage at Talladega. It's the first time he's been victorious in a stage and Truck Series competition.
To go into the Inferno with Bryan.
Yeah, I just look. I kind of want to take you back to the first time you drove Nice Motorsports, and I know you've gotten a lot of opportunities over the years up to this point. But when you first found out that you're going to be full time and you're able to put that deal together, can you just talk about what your emotion was around that?
Yeah, I just to have the meeting and all the conversations that were going into it, I felt so privileged to have, and for Nice to even take a look at a guy like me. So I was very giddy and just really wanting the opportunity. And once we found out that I was going to be full-time and taken to the 42, I still don't really believe it, but going to Daytona that year, like, I felt so honored and well taken care of. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had until that point. But when you come to a team like this, where the resources that they have and the funds and everything, like, it really makes you feel like you're in NASCAR. Very honored.
You look at some of the guys that I like to say graduated through Nice Motorsports. I mean, look at Ross Chastain, enough said there. Carson Hocevar, who eventually is going to be a Cup Series winner.
Yeah.
And you look at that kind of resume this team has, and what kind of hope does that give you, knowing that you're competing in a team that can develop drivers like that?
Yeah, I mean, Ross putting Nice on the map. I remember watching him win in Iowa and Kansas, and even here at Pocono. Like, he really put Nice on the map, and watching that. Where I was at my career at that point, I'm like, I would love to drive for Al Nice someday, and I'd love to be that next guy that could be giving them race wins. And a year or so before I came over to Nice, I got the opportunity to meet Al, and I told him, I'm like, I want to drive for you someday, and it ended up, a year and a half later, I was signed. So I've seen the success of Ross and Carson, so it's definitely, I wanted to be here, and I wanted to be that next guy to graduate from here. Honestly, I love it here, so if I stay here the rest of my career, I'm fine with that too.
I think a lot of guys probably feel the same way. Can you tell me about how did this come to be? Like, when did you first start getting in touch with Al, and what was like the time frame between first talking to knowing that you're going to be full time with 42?
So I signed a 2-race deal with KBM in 23. Not a lot of people knew my name. Like, I had been around a while, but nobody knew me as a competitive driver. I just kind of was, here and there with race teams and BJ Cloud Motorsports, and we had good runs in that. But going to do the KBM deal, we ran out to Richmond, qualified 5th, ran 5th, finished 5th, and we were kind of looking for our next opportunity at the end of that year, and met with a few different teams, and Cody Efall called my manager and just said that he wanted to meet with us, and that's how I thought. I was so taken back by that we got on Nice Motorsports radar, and that was very cool.
Do you ever, since the word I'm looking for, do you ever feel, I guess, maybe outnumbered by the sheer amount of Texans on this team?
Yeah. Well, the GM is from Ohio as well as me, so I got the best backup I could have at the race team. But yeah, between Bailey and Caden, a few others and now obviously. And Texas Motor Speedway is probably my least favorite track, or one of them. So,
it's a shame they don't do COTA anymore. So
no,
yeah.
That was right in the backyard.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, so I mean, looking forward into this year. So actually, I do want to talk about a little bit of last year real fast. So last year, kind of a startup season for you, a little bit of success there. Tommy, can you kind of grade yourself when it comes to elementary school, A to F, grade yourself on how you felt like you performed last year?
Honestly, it varied last year. To start the year, we had great speed, but I didn't do a very good job taking care of our inventory and days that we were running 12, not just finishing 12. It took me a little bit just to kind of learn that, and this stuff, compared to what I'm used to, it's not exactly the plug and play and you're automatically going to go faster. These things drive differently, and especially going from Xfinity to trucks, I had to learn a different kind of racecraft and just overall how these trucks handle in dirty air and all of it. So, but during the summer months, I felt like we picked up some good speed and had some really good runs, best of my career. And then end of last year, we're still having some good runs here and there, and then Homestead happened and kind of backtracked to finish the year off. But beginning of this year, I feel like I've done a better job of taking care of the inventory, taking those 12th place days. We're not exactly where we were speed wise last year. I feel like we lacked a little bit, but we've still showed at one point or another, majority of the races, that we can go be a top 5 truck and have good days. I think we didn't practice or qualify that well today, but I think we'll see that again today.
You mentioned Homestead, and I hate to bring back bad memories, I'm sure that is, but can you just take me back to that day? I know that took you out of a couple weeks or two, and just take me back to what exactly you were feeling when that first occurred, and just the recovery after that.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest concern was I wanted to get back home and get back to work. I was stuck in the hospital bed for 2 nights, and I never really had an experience like that before. So I was out of my comfort zone. But the biggest thing is I wanted to make sure that I was healthy again and back in the truck for Martinsville that following week, in which I was able to do.
How tough was that, knowing that being in that hospital and having to wait until not really knowing that you were going to be there, and not knowing for sure if you were going to be there or not?
Yeah, well, and that's all it is, and with what I had, just getting my lungs back up, all you can do is wait. There's no extra medicines that you take or anything. It's just breathing treatments, and you just play the waiting game. So they're when I first got there, they're it could be 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, so. But I was fortunate, and everyone took good care of me down there, and NASCAR did a really good job handling everything with me too.
Well, and he went to a specialist too.
Yeah.
In the week leading up, because it was one of those things where I don't think anyone knew what the severity really truly was.
Right.
That was the first time I ever had a driver go to the hospital like that. So, I think all the resources that you got to go and experience firsthand, I thought everything probably buttoned up as it could be.
Yeah, anytime I think we see anybody hop in an ambulance and have to go to the actual nearby hospital, cost for
I thought they were just being dramatic for a minute. Once I got to the hospital,
that's a tough mentality. I like that mentality. Yeah.
Oh, he was ready to go.
Really?
He texted me. He's like, "Dude, they're taking me. I need to go grab my stuff." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" Because he seemed seemed fine.
What did they see that felt like that warranted you to go to the hospital?
My oxygen levels.
Oh, okay.
So your healthy person is 98 to 100, and I was 60s, low 60s.
Okay.
So, and I couldn't even speak honestly. So.
Wow. But you were ready to get back in the truck.
Yeah, I was. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I'm like, I hate.
Damn.
Hate going.
Spoken like a true racer.
Yeah.
So, well, I hate to bring up the elephant in the room, but feet away from us is the other guy who was involved in that incident. Have you guys talked ever since then, and what's the relationship now?
Since he's been over here, I mean, we've talked, just lightly about certain things. I don't think either one of us really need to talk about that situation. Like, right now he's a Nice Motorsports teammate, and we all have the same goal. We need to work with each other. So, I mean, the conversations have been light, but friendly as they need to be, so everything's fine.
So everything's fine. You feel like everything's very all good from here. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, talking about this year now, I mean, you've already shown some pretty strong runs, pretty strong speed, and it felt, especially after recovering from something like that, hit the ground running, and now Nice is firing all cylinders. So you already got a win this year, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Nope.
No, wrong. Maybe I'm thinking.
Nope.
I was thinking of Ross. Yeah, but
It's close.
Yeah, I keep thinking of like Cup guys.
Now we got wiped out in Michigan.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. I apologize. Well, still, I mean, strong showing though, and now we're going to a track where Nice has also won before this in just less than an hour. So, when it comes to something like that, you see the rest of the year, you see the speed that you guys have. How much confidence does that give you for the rest of the season?
Right now, my biggest thing is we need consistency. We went to Charlotte and we were really fast. We just needed track position. We had something happen on pit road that kind of set us back there at the beginning of the race. But then the next week, I think we went to Nashville where we ran really good last year, and we were off a good amount, and honestly just couldn't get track position or whatever. But right now we just need that consistency to be able to keep having top 10 runs, to build those into top 5 runs. We can't really run top 10 and then 20th the next week. It just makes it too hard to really gain momentum or learn anything. So, but I feel good about today. Feel good about the rest of the tracks coming up. I'm excited to go back to New Hampshire. That's a place where I have a decent amount of laps. So I'm excited. I think we just got to get some momentum and keep building off of it.
I literally just got here, I kid you not, 15 minutes ago, as in just parked after driving 3 hours from Philadelphia. I do not know where you qualified. Where did you qualify?
21st.
21st. Okay. So, for a day like today, knowing that you're going to be in the middle of the field, what is the strategy for you? I mean, what is something you can do to make sure that today is a decent day? And also, on top of that, what is a goal? What's a good race for you today?
I'd like to get up there and mix it up in the top 5. Here last year we even tried to pass for the lead a couple times, but we majority ran top 5 here last year. So I'd like to do the same. Last year we started 13th or something, and we played different strategies, and we were outside the top 20 at one point. We got right back to the top 5. So hopefully we can just have that same speed today, and not a little more to go up there and compete with Cape.
And then when you see something like I mentioned earlier, these guys that have gone through Nice Motorsports, has Ross or Carson or even anybody else that's come through this team ever talked to you about, ever given you any kind of tips or pointers? Have you ever gone to them?
Yeah, Ross is in my corner quite a bit. I work out with him at the WISE program. He owns the agency that I'm with, MMI. So we're pretty close, and since I came over to Nice, he's always been there if I need advice. He'll even give me advice when I don't ask for it. So, he sees what happened or whatever. So he's been a really good mentor since coming over here.
What's Ross good when it comes to working out? Like, what's he good at?
He's honestly just, he won't quit. The trainers will have to tell him to quit.
Really?
Like he just, he's just got great cardio, obviously, but Ross just shows how bad he wants it. He pushes himself, and which is good.
So, at the end of the year, I know that again, we're not in the playoffs yet, but we still got quite a few races. What is a goal for you when it comes to the end of this year? What's a good points position for you?
Really, I mean, for sure top 15 in points, but right now the main focus is get up there and show that I can be a winning truck. These rest of the races that we have coming up, I feel I've got a few good ones in there, but honestly just show that I belong here and I can put Nice in victory lane.
Josh Blicky's coming here pretty soon to do a race with you guys. Have you talked to him at all?
No, I've known Josh for years though. We've been on the same team, different teams multiple times between BJ's and Young's Motorsports and Joey Gates. Like we've crossed paths quite a bit. So I'm excited to see him get that opportunity and go to Lime Rock. Definitely got a lot of questions for him, but I think he's going to be very fun to watch.
And finally, in this last year and a half, what is one lesson that you feel like you've learned that has made you into a better driver? One lesson that you've learned with these motorsports?
Well, Owls gave me a couple of them. He said, "Don't say you're sorry ever on the radio."
Nice.
for going for it.
That sounds like Al.
Yeah, I said sorry, I think one time at the beginning of last year after I wrecked, and he heard it on the radio, and he told me, "Don't ever say that." He said, "If you're going for it, don't ever apologize." So that one stuck with me quite a bit, but really just be smart and appreciate what I do for a living. You know, sometimes I take it for granted and don't realize that I get to drive race cars for a living. And, you know, it's easy to do and get caught up in it, but at the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun.
I hear that. What do you remember what race it was that Al said that?
Atlanta is when I said it, and in Vegas the following weekend he came up and grabbed me by the shoulder and pulled me over.
Oh, so it was the week after?
Yeah, he said, don't ever apologize on the radio.
Gotcha.
You're going for it. So.
Well, hopefully he won't have to do that again.
Yep.
We'll see you in Victory Lane here soon. I appreciate your time, Matt.
Yep, thank you again.
Once again, we just dove right into the inferno with Dalton Hopkins' interview with Matt Mills. Big thanks to D-Hop and I'm not talking about DeAndre Hopkins, Trey, for coming on to the program. Let's dive on into what is still hot for all the latest news and notes of the NASCAR world.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
At Trey Lyle VT, Trey Lyle co-hosting, I should say, the program with me. Trey, what is going on, my friend? Great episode of Happy Hour you guys did yesterday. I listened to it this morning during work, so fantastic job as usual, my friend. How are you, bud?
I'm doing well. Just busy week. Keep on churning here at the Front Stretch Podcast Network. So, yeah, ready to get into it.
It is never a dull day here at the world of Front Stretch, and one thing that is not going to be dull is going to be the first ever in-season tournament that will be starting in Echo Park. It's at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I don't care anymore. Atlanta Motor Speedway this upcoming weekend, the first race for TNT, the in-season tournament. Trey,
Echo Park.
Same thing. Tomato. I'm not. It was like ISM Raceway. No, it's Phoenix Raceway. It's not. It's not. I still call it Sonoma, but it's originally Infineon. It's never gonna be Lowe's Motor Speedway. It's Charlotte. You know. We don't need to.
I always remember the other way around. Like, I guess because my first NASCAR viewing was Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Okay. That one's the exception, I should say. But
good one is, and it's not a sponsor, but like I will always call it RIR and not Richmond Raceway.
There or like Lucas Oil Raceway Park. No, it's IRP.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, wherever they're going to be going this weekend in Hampton, Georgia, the first ever in-season tournament is going to be started with the first round. You got all 32 drivers. Trey, you excited? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Obviously, you read my bracket out yourself, Dalton Hopkins, and Michael Massey all has their brackets got released on Happy Hour as well. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for NASCAR?
I think it's a good thing. I rated it a 6 out of 7, like 6 to 7, and on a scale of 10. I think the drivers are not, maybe because they're so locked in the season, they kind of forgot about it, and now it's just been brought up. I think NASCAR could have gotten its way with how they did the seating and how they got to this point. But I think now that we have the 32 teams, and then they'll have the unique car colors on the lids of the where they have the names on the deck lids, I guess is what they call it.
Windshield area.
Windshield, whatever.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But yeah, and so I think that will help once we get to 16. I don't like it starting at Atlanta, but I also think it's interesting for the tournament because it creates the most kind of volatility in terms of finding first round upsets, but also I think like William Byron's an 18 seed and he's the points leader. So I think ultimately they probably should have set the do the next year if they do this again, change the seating. But ultimately, I think by the end of it, I'll feel really good about it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it'll be fun. It'll be interested to track along and everything. It's a long season. Dog days of summer are upon us, so it's something a little bit different, something a little bit unique, and it should be fun to keep an eye on through. So you got Atlanta, Sonoma, Chicago, Dover for the next 5 weeks, the TNT portion. So it'll be fun. That's for sure. Also, what will be fun will be on Saturday afternoon, the first ever trip for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, going to a road course in Connecticut, Lime Rock Park. And for the first ever time, the trucks will be taken to the road course. I think it's a mile and a half road course, 1.5, 1.6, something like that. I was reading 100 laps on Big Fox. What are the expectations, Trey?
Yeah, and not just Big Fox, Mike Joy on the call. I think they're going to have the whole crew. I think Kevin Harvick will be there as well, if I'm not mistaken. Don't count me on that, but yeah, I love new venues, and I think Lime Rock. You're gonna have the ARCA race, and then you have the truck race is a big race weekend. Obviously, Echo Park and the race at Atlanta with Cup and Xfinity. You have little close to me this weekend in South Boston. You have the first leg of the triple header in the Virginia triple header, which NASCAR is helping increase the purse for that. So a big weekend of racing, and I'm excited for Lime Rock. And I give Fox credit for the Truck Series. You go all out with this in a unique venue, by not just going on Fox, but bringing out the big guns. So that's pretty nice as well.
Thank you to our producer, Caleb Barnes. Mike
Oh.
Joy is only doing a hit off the top. Jamie Little's still calling the actual race. So thank you, Mr. Caleb Barnes. So fake
And
news, Trey.
ignore what I just said.
Fake
and
news, Trey. Back at it again. This is why people distrust the media, because Trey Lyle gives false news. No, it's okay. Thank you, Caleb. That is what you're here for. Without further ado, though, let's dive on into our soundbite of the week, where we hear from Denny Hamlin and a little bit frustrated Denny Hamlin.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm gonna bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track racing.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
Curious, how quickly were you aware of the 19's fuel situation, and right off the restart and the immediacy, how did that affect things behind the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to run out, so I really didn't press too hard early in the run, because when the speeds are up that high, you're just not going to get around somebody, unless they completely blow the corner. So at that point, I'm just trying to save my car, but keep him honest, and just couldn't quite get close enough to not allow him to save fuel. And it's just, that's the way it breaks. I mean, the race goes green, he definitely is ended up short because, that caution came out, but, that's how they came out so far ahead on that green flag sequence. And I thought he was so far ahead, I was like, man, there's no way they got as much fuel in it as what we did, but, that's the brakes. Sometimes things go your way. It did for them, and he did a great job holding the front.
Once again, that was Denny Hamlin off of a second place finish. Trey, I get the frustration because you have a guy that's having to save fuel, and he still can't pass him. It would be frustrating. And even though that it was a solid race, I thought it was good, but maybe it was because I was on the watch party with Mike Neff, yourself, and Wyatt Watson, even occasionally Michael Massey Jr. III. It does say a lot that you cannot pass a car that is trying to save fuel.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic, because I think in terms of the aggression we would see from Denny Hamlin, it was probably towards the lower tier, because it was his teammate who needed a win to make the playoffs. So I think Denny, if it was let's say Ross Chastain in front of him, is he more aggressive in terms of getting there? I think that's quite possible. But two, I think it's more of, you have to give Briscoe a lot of credit. We were celebrating the burn bar on the watch party, and I think you just need to celebrate that fact a little bit more than anything else. And you give Briscoe a lot of credit for the performance he did. He was able to manipulate the air. He was able to save enough fuel and get the job done. But I mean, Pocono has always been a place that's hard to pass. And this car, at least this year, the dirty air seems to be ticked up even more as these teams are figuring out the car more. And so I think it just made for like the perfect combination to result in what we saw. And ultimately, you have to give Chase Briscoe a lot of credit. And yeah, Denny was frustrated by the result, I guess.
Yeah. Uh, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, Atlanta, and then you got Chicago, Sonoma. Probably Dover will be the next one where we could see if that makes a difference. So we'll have to wait and see. But Denny's next shot for a win will be this upcoming weekend in Atlanta. Let's dive on in, do some final thoughts, and gear up for the future of this program.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Well, a little bit of story time for you guys. Back in like 2019, I joined Front Stretch, and we didn't know what to do with the role. And my man Tom Bowles, or I should say boss man, but he's also my man, he's a good friend of mine as well. We decided to start up the podcast network, and I took over for Davey Siegel. I then got my own show in Stock Car Scoop. I gave that away to Adam Cheek, who's now giving that off to our producer, Mr. Caleb Barnes. And then we brought in this goofball Trey Lyle. And he is a pain in my you-know-what, but he's also a good friend of mine. And so change is always hard, but starting next week, Trey Lyle is going to be bringing the heat, and I'm going to be the host of Happy Hour.
Co-host. You have two others. You got to be. Come on.
Sorry.
You gotta get used to that.
I know. Co-hosting with Dalton Hopkins and Michael Massey. We're all still going to be friends. We all still have our group chat that we talk to 24/7 that I make fun of Trey for his misspellings, and he makes fun of me for being a perv. But, it is, okay, knock it off. You're supposed to say, haha, that was funny, Bryan. But no, we're still going to be our happy-go-lucky self. This is not a demotion for Trey. This is actually probably a promotion for Trey because he doesn't have to deal with me. But it's been a fun ride. I can't wait to co-host Happy Hour Tuesday. Check that on your YouTube. Caleb Barnes is still going to be producing this great program. We're going to take Trenton over from this program. He's going to be co-hosting with, or can be producing with the three of us knuckleheads trying to keep us all in line. So change is hard, but it's going to be good for all parties involved, and we're just going to keep the world turning, Trey.
Yeah, and I'm just going to end with my favorite ever moment from Bryan Nolen on the podcast network so far.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Trey Lyle asked me to record a video for you guys to present one of the nominees for the Front Stretch Awards, and of course, he wanted me to announce the nominees for Bryan Nolen Dumbass of the Year. Now,
there we go. My favorite moment. Of course, the award for Dumbass of the Year with the Happy Hour Awards isn't named after Bryan Nolen. And so I just figured I'd end with that as changes are coming here. We'll do our best, and if you're upset about it, sorry, that's Thomas Bowles' decision, and he signs our checks.
Blame Tom Bowles at NASCAR Bowles on Twitter.
But that's
criticism.
That's more of a joke. Excited for the new challenge. Excited to. I am the podcast manager, so I still technically oversee Happy Hour. And as I said yesterday, I still am going to be on Happy Hour a lot because Bryan Nolen, has an actual business, and sometimes I need to fill in. We'll put it that way.
Yep.
And
especially in the fall.
Yeah, I have to host. I will host Jeopardy, of course, and then
When will that be, Trey? Because I want to actually participate.
Ask NASCAR Bulls.
He would take like 3 days to reply to us, so why even bother? You're the manager. You just set a time, set a date, and we'll all be there.
So TBD, because I still would have to decide, but because it takes a lot of work to do. Trust me on that. But yeah, it'll be fun. Caleb's gonna help me out with this, and you'll see him a lot if I can't find a guest each week, and we'll be highlighting the interviews that either I get or someone on our website gets, like Dalton did this week with Matt Mills. So fun times in store for the entire podcast network. And by the way, check out all our podcasts, Through the Gears, check out the next podcast on the feed, which will be obviously Through the Gears. I got the Pit Straight and Through the Gears mixed up in my head. Through the Gears with Wyatt Watson, and then obviously the Pit Straight, and then Caleb Barnes reacting to the coverage on the race with Scott Carr Scoop. Check that out wherever you get your podcast. Brian, I think you can sign off for now.
For Caleb Barnes, Trey, Lyle, for the final time of Bringing the Heat for Bryan Nolen. I am yours truly. Signing off. We'll talk with you next time here on Bringing the Heat.